In 2021, two friends each had $80,000. Jake used his to buy a house at a 3% mortgage rate, the lowest in modern history. Marcus put his into the S&P 500 and never touched it again. Today, one of them has built almost $400,000 more than the other. And it is not the one you think. Today, we're running the real numbers on the most talked about financial decision of the last 5 years. Buying a home in 2021 versus investing in the stock market. No opinions, no hot takes, just the math, using real data through 2026. Let's set the scene properly, because the details matter more than people think. It's September 2021. Jake and Marcus are both 32 years old. Both make around $75,000 a year. Both have $80,000 saved, the result of 3 years of disciplined saving during the pandemic, when neither of them could spend money on much else. Jake decides to buy a home. The median home price in the US at that point is around $363,000. He puts his $80,000 down, about 22%, and finances the rest at a 30-year fixed rate of 3%. That rate sounds unbelievable now, but in September 2021, it was completely normal. Marcus does something less exciting. He opens a brokerage account, puts his $80,000 into VOO, the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, and does not touch it. No timing the market, no picking stocks. He sets it, and for 5 years, he basically forgets about it. Here's where most videos about this topic stop being honest. They show you the house going up in value and call it a win. They don't show you what actually happened in between. Year 1. Closing costs. Around 3% of the home price, call it $11,000, gone before Jake even moves a box in. Year 2. The water heater fails, $2,200. Year 3. The roof needs partial repair after a storm, $4,100, and homeowner's insurance only covers part of it because the deductible alone is $1,500. Year 4. Property taxes, which were $8,200 in year 1, climbed to roughly $9,400 because in most US counties, property tax is reassessed against rising home values, and home values rose. Added up, and over 5 years, Jake has paid out roughly $88,000 in costs beyond his mortgage principal. That's not a criticism of homeownership. That's just what owning a home actually costs, and it's the part influencers leave out of the thumbnail. Now here's the part Jake's been waiting for. What's the house actually worth now? According to Redfin's national housing data, the median US home price in 2026 sits at roughly $399,000, up from that $363,000 Jake paid in 2021. That's about 10% appreciation over 5 years. Slower than people expect, because the rapid price growth of 2021 and 2022 has mostly cooled off since. Jake's home equity, what he'd actually walk away with if he sold today, is roughly the value of the home, minus what he still owes the bank, minus what he'd pay an agent to sell it. After 5 years of payments, Jake has paid down some principal too, so let's be fair to him. His loan balance has dropped from $283,000 to around $253,000. So, $399,000 in value, minus $253,000 owed, minus closing costs if he sold. Jake's actual equity today is approximately $124,000. He put in $80,000. He now has roughly $124,000 in equity. That's a real gain of about $44,000 over 5 years, not counting the $88,000 he spent on taxes, insurance, and repairs along the way. Money that doesn't come back to him. Now Marcus. This is where it gets uncomfortable for the real estate always wins crowd. According to Vanguard's own published performance data, VOO's 5-year total return, through dividends reinvested, sits at approximately 87% as of mid-2026. That includes 2022, when the index dropped about 18% and a lot of people who panic sold lost money. Marcus didn't sell. He didn't even look. $80,000 growing at that rate becomes approximately $149,800 by 2026. That's a gain of around $69,800. And here's the part that matters just as much as the number. Marcus paid almost nothing to get there. No property tax, no insurance, no roof, no water heater. The expense ratio on VOO is 3 basis points. $3 a year for every $10,000 invested. That's it. Let's put both outcomes side by side, fairly, using everything we've covered. $80,000 in. Current equity around $124,000, minus roughly $88,000 spent on ownership costs along the way. His net financial position, accounting for what actually left his pocket, comes out to a real gain of approximately $36,000 over 5 years. $80,000 in. Current value around $149,800. Virtually no ongoing costs. His real gain? Approximately $69,800. The difference between them, using real 2026 numbers, not projections, is approximately $33,800 in Marcus's favor. Now, before the comment section explodes, this is not renting good, buying bad. Jake has a home. He has stability, a fixed payment while rents around the country kept climbing, and a tax deduction on his mortgage interest that we haven't even factored in yet. This comparison is purely about which $80,000 grew more as an investment. On that specific question, for this specific 5-year window, the index fund won. And it won by more than most people would guess. Here's why almost nobody sees this coming. A 3% mortgage rate feels like free money, and historically, it basically was. But what that low rate actually did was let Jake control a $363,000 asset with only $80,000 of his own cash. That's leverage, and leverage cuts both ways. It amplifies the 10% the home appreciated. It also means he was on the hook for 100% of the taxes, repairs, and insurance on an asset he only owned 22% of outright. Marcus had no leverage at all. He owned exactly what he paid for, nothing more. And in this specific 5-year stretch, one that included a brutal 2022 for stocks and a housing market that cooled faster than anyone expected after 2022, the asset with zero leverage and zero carrying costs simply compounded faster than the leveraged one accumulated equity. So what do you actually do with this? If you already own a home you bought in 2020 or 2021 at a low rate, this is not a sign to sell it. You have a payment that inflation is making cheaper every year in real terms, and a roof that's yours. That has value this video isn't measuring. But if you're sitting on cash right now in 2026, trying to decide between a down payment and an index fund, the lesson from Jake and Marcus is this. The mortgage rate matters enormously. 3% and 6.5% are not the same decision. At today's roughly 6.5% average rate, the math shifts even further in the direction of the index fund, because the monthly cost of that leverage is now more than double what Jake paid in 2021. Run your own numbers before you decide. Use your actual city's home price, your actual rate, and be honest about repair costs, because that's the part that got Jake in this story, and it's the part that gets most homeowners in real life. If you want to run this exact comparison for your own city and your own mortgage rate, the spreadsheet I used for this video is linked in the description. Free to download. Next week, we're running the same 5-year test on dividend stocks versus a rental property's actual cash flow, using real numbers from 3 different US cities. Subscribe so you don't miss it.